Hello and welcome. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, President Buhari, 9 other African leaders meet with U.S. President in New York. President Trump promises partnership with the African Union to end violence and prevent the spread of terrorism on the continent. Federal government confirms the approval of IPOB's declaration as a terrorist group by President Buhari, says legal process on prescription fully observed. Operatives of Nigeria Customs Service uncover large number of rifles hidden in a container at the Tinkan Island port in Lagos, the second seizure in 8 days. And death toll in Mexico earthquake rises above 200 as rescue operations continue in affected areas.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's Treasury Bills Market's total subscription hits 559 billion naira. A central bank raises almost 4 times the initial amount of debt on offer. On sports news, England sacks women's national team head coach Mark Sampson after information came to light about his conduct during his time at Bristol Academy.
And from Abuja, detainees in police custody to get free legal services as part of efforts to achieve effective criminal justice administration.
We begin tonight from the United States, where President Muhammadu Buhari and 9 other African leaders today met with the American President Donald Trump. The meeting is on the sidelines of the ongoing 72nd United Nations General Assembly in New York, and President Trump has given his assurance that his country will remain committed to the development of Africa. President Trump in his address affirmed his belief in the growth of the African continent, describing the leaders as partners in the promotion of transparency, peace, self-reliance and security.
African leaders meeting with President Donald Trump on the second day of debates at the United Nations General Assembly. 9 presidents from Africa were represented here at the launch meeting, including the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. President Trump sees tremendous business potential in Africa. 6 of the world's fastest economies, according to him, are from Africa, hence the need for a stronger partnership on all fronts. The U.S. is pledging greater cooperation in the fight against terrorist groups, including ISIS, Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram, to cut down their finances.
Cut off their finances and to discredit their depraved ideology. Our prosperity depends, above all, on peace. The United States will partner with the countries and organizations like the African Union that lead successful efforts to end violence, to prevent the spread of terrorism, and to respond to humanitarian crises.
North Korea as a security threat remains a prime talking point as President Trump urges all African leaders to take a united stance.
We wanted the U.S. to engage more with Africa, also in the area of health. And he was actually very complimentary about African countries and African governance.
The meeting maybe was...
Earlier, the president of Nigeria held bilateral talks with the King of Jordan, and clearly the fight against terrorism in Nigeria is receiving additional boost. In a statement by the presidency, President Buhari said the donation of about 200 armored fighting vehicles by Jordan reflects true concern for Nigeria's security situation. Very clearly, Nigeria is working with other countries in the United Nations to stamp out terrorist threats. And this is made very evident here as it joins 49 other countries to sign the Nuclear Weapons Prohibition Treaty to ban nuclear weapons. From New York in the United States, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
And back here in Nigeria, the Minister of Information, Mr. Lai Mohammed, has revealed that the proscription of the indigenous people of Biafra had the approval of the president. And he insists that no country would tolerate the operations of IPOB, which includes setting up a military wing. The Information Minister was speaking to State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja today.
Conversation on the categorization of IPOB as a terrorist group and its subsequent proscription is still on the nation's front burner.
Of the indigenous people of Biafra.
The Nigerian government insists it did what every responsible government the world over would do, since the activities of IPOB negates the principle of non-violent agitation.
IPOB has engaged in terrorist activities, such as setting up paramilitary and paramilitary organizations, clashing with the National Army, and attempting to seize rifles from soldiers. For those who are fixated with legality, I have good news for them. The President has approved the process of proscribing IPOB, and the procedure is on.
Mr. Mohammed also calls for caution as he makes a distinction between the various security challenges facing the country.
For anybody to look at the herdsmen farmers class as a north-south or Hausa Yoruba, I think he has completely missed the issue. What you are looking at as if it's a Nigerian phenomenon happens in Sudan, happens in Kenya, happens in Uganda. Anywhere where you have pastoralists, you have farmers, you are going to have this issue. So we have to be proactive. We have to be more resourceful, and we should stop just labeling it as if it's, north against south, south against north. It is not so.
Other ministers spoke on diverse issues. The Minister of Labour explains why he is sitting to talk with United Labour Congress, whereas his colleague in aviation allays the fears that the planned concession of Kano and Port-Harcourt airports have raised among workers of the Federal Airport Authority.
Come this Friday, a portal will be put up by ICRC, Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission, where all matters of concession will be uploaded for anybody to see. It's an extra effort by this government to be so transparent in dealing with this type of situation.
We have started a program.
In his report, the Minister of Health told the Council that the nation is currently tracking 4 major outbreaks, including Lassa fever, cholera and yellow fever, as well as steps being taken to curtail the outbreaks. Ibrahim Adra, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted an order prescribing the indigenous people of Biafra and at the same time outlawing its activities. The Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice had approached the court through an ex parte motion citing Section 2 of the Terrorism Prevention Act, seeking an order prescribing IPOB and its activities. The matter was not heard in open court, but in the chambers of the acting Chief Judge of the court, Justice Abdul Kafarati. After listening to the application, he granted the applicant's prayer and consequently ordered the prescription of the group. Justice Kafarati ordered that the activities of IPOB in any part of Nigeria, especially in the southeast and the south-south regions, amounts to acts of terrorism and illegality. The Special Assistant to the President on Prosecution, Chief Obono-Obla, speaks on the court ruling.
Today, a Federal High Court in Abuja granted an application filed by the Office of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. And the application was argued by the Honorable Attorney General Abubakar Malami SAN and his team. And the court granted the prayers in the motion paper that the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, is a proscribed organization. It's a terrorist organization and is thereby proscribed. So that is the position now, that the court has formally, a Federal High Court today has formally proscribed IPOB.
And despite several calls for the suspension of the Army's special operation in the southeast, codenamed Operation Python Dance 2, the might of the Nigerian military seems to be waxing stronger. Now the Nigerian Air Force is joining that operation and will be deploying its Alpha jet to provide air cover for the ground troops. The Air Force spokesman, Air Commodore Olatokunbo Adesonya, explains that the deployment of the jet will enhance cohesion and efficiency of operations. The Army's Operation Python Dance 2 is a special military strategy to combat security challenges in the southeast, especially kidnapping and armed robbery. And staying with security issues, governors of some north-central states have moved to allay the fears of potential ethnic clashes in their domains by asking parties involved to embrace peace. Reacting to agitations for self-determination in the southeast, Governor Tanko Almakura of Nasarawa State solicited a transformation of the system of government rather than divisive rhetoric. His counterpart in Benue State, Samuel Otom, also read the Riot Act to Igbo and Hausa communities, warning them against any breach of peace.
Under the shadow of threats of an outbreak of violent clashes generated by divisive utterances from some elements from the southeast and the north, governors of states sandwiched between the two regions moved to prevent their domains being turned into battlegrounds. Governor Samuel Otom of Benue State walks into a meeting with the Igbo and Hausa communities in Makurdi, the state capital, with a clear intent. He reminds both parties that he is capable of dealing with any breach of peace in a very unconventional manner.
Any move from any mischief maker who will come out with any agitation and to say, we are sending this group of people away from Benue State, or we are attacking these people because somebody somewhere has been attacked, so we come and do reprisal here in Benue State. I will personally leave my seat and go after you and arrest you. Personally. All those mischief makers, they should take this warning from me, and I will do it.
In neighboring Nasarawa State, Governor Tanko Almakura sues for a more conciliatory approach to addressing agitations in the southeast.
I believe every Nigerian has the right to live everywhere he wants, anywhere. I can tell you that some of the people who are not from this state, the Igbos, the Yorubas, the Esekiris, the Efik, the Ibibios, the Urubos, who have contributed to the development of this state more than the so-called indigenous. Why don't we live together in peace?
It's all part of efforts to douse the tensions generated by the face-off between IPOB in the southeast and Arewa youth groups in the northern states, which has lately necessitated a high state of alert by the military.
The Nigeria Customs Service is making more discoveries and seizures, especially the illegal importation of arms. Today, officials of the service uncovered another container carrying about 475 pump-action rifles. This comes barely a week after seizing a container carrying more than 1,000 guns at the Tinkan Island port in Lagos. It will be the fourth time this year that the Customs Service will be intercepting firearms, all said to have been imported from Turkey. 661 pump-action rifles were intercepted by Customs on March the 10th, followed by 440 rifles seized on May the 23rd. And the interception before the latest seizure happened on September the 11th. In part two, after the break, police demolished criminal hideouts in the Ikorodu area of Lagos. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.